Hey everyone, I have some questions for you this morning. When was the last time you apologized for something you messed up? I know it's not kind of a question you really wanted to answer today, and it takes a little bit of courage, a little bit of moxie to ask yourself some of these questions and come up with honest answers. So who in your circle tends to challenge you, tends to not be the yes man to you? Who's the one that says, hey, let's think about it. Hey, here's a different thought. Here, I'm coming from a different angle. Who is that challenger in your world? Do you find yourself interrupting people? Do you find yourself interrupting because you're excited, or because they have misinformation, or for any reason? And then the last question is, when's the last time you used someone else's idea as if it was yours? You didn't actually give them credit. You're sitting in a room, you're brainstorming, someone mentions the idea, 30 minutes later, you recycle the idea, and everybody decides it's a great idea, but it didn't originate with you. I'm asking these questions because they help us know how self-aware we are. 95% of people believe they are self-aware. 95%, that's all of us, right? But only 10 to 15% of us actually are self-aware. So let's just assume for a moment that we're in that 80%, the people that think we're self-aware, but we're not. Here's some things that people who are not self-aware tend to do. They only think good ideas come from them. They say things that discourage people and they don't even realize it. They can't put themselves in other people's shoes. They have difficulty taking ownership of their own mistakes. They only surround themselves with people who agree with them. And they aren't able to adapt their communication to the person that's listening to them. And they don't know their own weaknesses or shortcomings. So that's a short list of things that people who aren't self-aware or social aware, either of those, tend to do. And so that's what prompted those first 4 questions that I asked. Now, I'm going to give you an example of someone who's very self and social aware. A coworker is looking for you. They find you, but you just came out of so-and-so's office, and whatever happened in that office, it didn't go well. And your coworker is looking for you because they want to ask you a favor. But reading your face and recognizing, hey, this is not a good time to be asking for a favor. This person really needs to just vent. And they let you just vent. That's someone that's very self-aware and social aware. If you go in a restaurant, you see a waitress who has a couple at one of her tables who really wants to be alone. She doesn't interject herself into their conversation. But the adjacent table has a couple who loves a new perspective, a new voice, wants to bring in someone else into the conversation. And so she gets involved in their conversation. She's very self and social aware. Well, let me give you another example of something that happened to me not too long ago. Someone who wasn't self and social aware. I was at a table at a restaurant. It was a late night kind of rendezvous with a few friends. There were 4 of us, 4 women sitting at the table. We were intense. We were literally leaning in, listening to this other lady at the table tell us something. This is a group of ladies that really love being together, don't get together a lot, and are pretty high energy when they do. And so this woman was telling us a story we were infatuated with. We wanted to hear every word of it. So we were not leaning back at the table. We were not looking at our phones. We were not gazing around the restaurant. We were not looking out the window. We were intent on her face, leaning in over the table. And her back was to the restaurant. And the owner or the manager of the restaurant came up to our table. He interrupted to thank us for being there. And then he did not leave. So we're leaning into the table, listening to every word, and you could, from a distance, see that. You could see we were intent. And he began to just talk and tell jokes and try to entertain us. We gave him no invitation with body language or with words to do that. He finally did leave, and she took up where she was on her story, and we finished what we were in the middle of. But you see how he's totally unaware, and he's not only affecting himself, but he's affecting us too, and our experience there. So how do we become more self-aware, more social aware? Well, the first thing to think about is emotion. As humans, we all carry emotion. We're not robots. So we have to consider emotion. And most of the time, we've been trained to label our emotions. They're either in this pile, which is the good pile, or they're in that pile, which is the bad pile. And so we've decided that, joy and excitement, what's another good emotion? Why are the good emotions that we label are not coming to me? I don't know. Bad emotions, things that we label as bad, are anger, sadness, grief, guilt. And what happens when we pass judgment on our emotions is we get stuck there. We don't learn from them. We get hung in that guilt or anger or shame or whatever it is. And really, we want to understand our emotions. We want to sit with them. If we're judging them, we're not going to sit with them. We want to become aware of them, understand them, really learn from them. So one of the questions we could ask ourselves, or the way we could reframe it is, this emotion is here to help me understand something important, right? So this week, my challenge is that we would take notice in order to become more self-aware, social aware. We would take notice of our own emotions as quickly as possible and then reframe, okay, this emotion is here to help me understand something important, and begin to sit with it. Then the second part of that is, when you throw a stone into a pond, there's a ripple effect, right? You see all of these circles in the pond. Well, now that I'm acknowledging and noticing my own emotion and trying to learn something from it, I also want to pay attention to the ripple effect of that emotion. Does it cause me to react in a certain way? Does it cause me to misunderstand things? Does it cause me to make assumptions about things? And once I react or make assumptions, how are the people around me impacted? And how are the people around them impacted? So the person I react to in the room is obviously impacted, and the people in the room that I wasn't reacting to at all are also impacted. And then the next level of people that they run into afterwards get impacted. So what's the ripple effect? So in order to increase our self-awareness and social awareness, let's pay attention to our emotions, suspend judgment, learn from them, and then watch for the ripple effect of our emotions. How are they impacting everyone else? I'm Michele Gooch with Life by Design. I'm here Wednesdays at 1. We'll be talking about social and self-awareness all month in the month of May. You can find me at lifebydesign.guru. If you're interested in your own self-awareness and social awareness, we can partner together to work on that. Find me at www.lifebydesign.guru. See you next Wednesday at 1.